Alright, let me get this hooked up and we're ready to get going here. Got to hook my microphone up. That will take just a second. There it is. Okay, got everything set up and ready to go. And yeah, I hadn't been on here a lot. Well, I hadn't been on here at all for lately. Hadn't been motivated too much. But I have been keeping up with the news and have been watching what's going on in the world. And again, like usual, this is Fraley's World Insight vlog on 7/8/18, and it's on a Sunday, late afternoon, 5:58 to be exact. And got a few things I want to talk about. I won't stay on here overly long. And I'm planning on it in the near future, maybe a month or so, maybe before, to upgrade my equipment a little bit. So I have some older equipment, and I kind of want to do kind of a throwback, some new with the old, if you know what I mean. Trying to get another computer. This one's really slowed down. It even freezes up at times, and it's kind of aggravating. So that can cause a person not to be as motivated. So I'm thinking about getting a Alienware computer. This one's called Area 51. I've been wanting it for years, and I never messed around and got one. I kind of had several different. I've had XPSs. I've got these Inspiring 5348s, and this one's been probably the best I've had. But now it's even starting to slow down on me. I guess they all do that after about 5 years or so. And well, it just gets aggravating. It still works good. I even have one from 2010, I believe, a little laptop XPS, and it works pretty good. But it's only like the memory in it's only like 2 GB, or it's 4 GB with two. With an Intel 2, processor, so it's kind of, I guess it's not up to par with the latest updates and all that good kind of technical stuff that anybody who knows about that knows about it. But anyway, on with what I was going to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about being fair-spirited versus mean-spirited. And I come on here and I want to think of myself as a fair-spirited person, but it's hard sometimes. Sometimes you get a little bit mean, especially when the other side, the Democrats, if you know what I mean, when they get mean-spirited too. See, they blame the right, the left there, the Democrats blame the right for being mean-spirited. Well, they do the same thing, only worse. And this is a country where we have a constitution, and we're all guaranteed the First Amendment freedom of expression. But they don't seem to think that that's right. They want to change that. Well, not just that, but the Second Amendment too. Freedom to carry guns and stuff. They want to change all that too. It seems like the left is moving more and more to socialism all the time. Yeah, they'll deny it. Oh, we're not communist, or we're not socialist. But deep inside, they don't believe in self-determination. They don't believe in capitalism, and that's what Marxism believes in. And all those people that were really left-wingers, way out into so much so that it could cause anarchy. Anyway, like I said, I come on here to be fair-spirited, not mean-spirited, but I mean, have you been watching lately? Been watching what's going on? I mean, Roseanne Barr here a month or two ago, probably 2 months ago. Maybe it was just a month ago. That's how long I hadn't been on here. But I just wanted to make a few comments about her. Yes, and to be truthfully, she's not really a Republican or a right winger. She's more of a liberal. Of course, so was Trump. Many people don't realize, but Trump used to be Democrat, and he's more of liberal. Actually, he's more in the center of things, and he's a populist. He believes in common sense. And anyway, Roseanne Barr had her show canceled because of certain comments or tweets that she put out. Well, if you've been really watching TV, there's this one show, and I can't remember the lady's name, but she's a lady comedian. She has her own show on TBS Channel 2, I believe it is, here where I live. And she called the president's daughter a cunt or something like that. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Sorry, I withdraw that. Although I can't withdraw it. Called her something she shouldn't have said. Was really out of class. She wouldn't have said it about Obama's daughters or Obama's families. Anyway, it really just shows you what kind of low class that some people on the left go, and they just sink so low. So, I mean, if you're going to go that low, you can't expect somebody from the right not to hark back and say something bad about you too. I mean, what you did was being mean-spirited. And why didn't you have your show canceled? Roseanne Barr did. It's because the media and everybody else in there, and the government even, they're one-sided. And that's a danger. That's a sign of censorship and communism and socialism and Marxism. Any of those isms you want to put into it. It just shows you how low, and it's all right. It's all right if they say something, but if the right says something back, they can't say it. It's it's low. I can't. We shouldn't have people like that in the White House, or we should cancel that show. It's a bad influence on the people. And you're not. You're not a bad influence on the people, saying making the kind of remarks you make, saying the kind of things you make. I mean, and I've actually been kind of fair compared to some of the people on here that I see broadcasting over the airwaves. And I just wanted to say that I'm going to try to be fair-spirited, but I'm not going to take any bull, you know what I'm saying, BS. I'll just put it BS. I'll simplify it and make it where it doesn't sound so bad. I'll abbreviate it. Anyway, any of the BS, any of the BS that goes on, it shouldn't have to stand for that. Oh, Jimmy Kimmel, Samantha Bee, maybe that's the lady's name that was on TBS. Samantha Bee, comedian on there, has her own show. And Jimmy Kimmel's kind of a low slime guy too. I mean, he's really, if you've watched any of his videos or watched his show, you can tell how deep into the gutter this guy goes and how low and stinking he goes. Yet the left sees him as kind of moral. Of course, they do that on CBS late night talk show. I forget that guy's name too, but he used to be on a comedy channel. They put him on there because they think he's funny, not because he's moral or just or right or smart or anything like that. He says something funny and they laugh. whether it's mean-spirited, fair-spirited, or what. So I'm gonna try to be fair-spirited and say things the way I see them, but be fair about it. I mean, I'm not gonna get much lower than they get. I couldn't get much lower than they get, believe me. And I'm not trying. I don't want to be that way anyway. It's really not part of my moral fiber, upbringing, structure, however you want to say it. Another thing that I could talk about is school shootings. Of course, that's been a couple months ago since that's happened too. But there was a lot of that going on, and a lot of it had to do with suicidal teens who lost their girlfriends or had relationships that turned bad or whatever. And it seemed like one person did it, somebody else would want to do it, and it was kind of like copycat crimes, if you know what I mean. I mean, I don't know what it's going to come down to as far as school security over all the school systems, and I'd hate to have to see a lot of teachers have to carry guns, but if it comes down to it to keep people safe, I'd say, yeah, you got to have it. And I don't want it, but I would rather have it than to see somebody get killed. At least if you had a gun, you could possibly stop a killing of a lot of people. Could save a lot of lives. Is that what you want? Do you want to save lives, or you want to see people get killed? Possibly somebody related to you. If it were related to you, you'd feel different, wouldn't you? You'd want them to be safe. You wouldn't want to send your kids to school if you know there's a possibility of your kid being shot, now would you? Probably not. Not if you were in your right mind. Now, if you were in your socialist, communistic, and Marxist dysfunctional reality disorder mind, which a lot of people nowadays are. I did a thing here a few months ago on that, and if you're on the left, you probably have this, so you're probably against guns. But I'm not. I believe in the Second Amendment, and I believe that if it has to be, then it has to be. I don't want it, but it's gone to a point where you might have to have it. You either got to do that, or there is another alternative that you can do that, in my opinion, that might work. And then again, somehow there still might be guns or knives get into school systems. It still might happen even with this. Better security. Lock all the doors and have all metal detectors. Check everybody that comes in. Check their bags. Make sure they have no weapons or guns or knives or anything like that, or even grenades if they're able to get a hold of grenades and any other type of weapon of that kind of nature. You got to check them every day, and you got to keep security at the doors. If they go in or go out, they got to be checked. That way, nobody has weapons or guns, and nobody gets killed. Now, hopefully that stops it, but there's always smart teens out there that will figure out ways to get around that. Smuggling and other ways, but I'm just saying that it's going to happen, and it's going to happen again, and I hate to see it, because you think 18 was probably the worst year yet, and even with beefed up security and awareness and alertness and training, it's still going up. It's still happening. So, and you can say what you want to, but you can talk to people, but you can talk till your face is blue. You can talk to a brick wall, but a brick wall is not going to answer you back. You can try to understand people's problems, but if they're wacko, messed up in the head and have problems, then it's going to happen anyway. I mean, you might accidentally catch a few of them and be able to talk to some, but most of them, if they're already whacked up in the head, and things life starts going against them, because life can get rough when you're young, especially mentally, and for depressed type people. And I can see how life could be pretty hard for them, and they might lose it, do something on the spur of a moment on impulse, because a lot of young people are impulsive. They just react. They don't think about the consequences of their actions. They just react. And then when they do, they ruin their whole life. One incident messes up their whole life. When you kill somebody or hurt somebody, it can never be forgiven, believe me. I mean, it's just not possible. How's it going to be forgiven? You can't give their life back to them, or you can't straighten up an injury that they may have caused from a bullet or a cut or whatever else. I mean, once it's done, it's done. It's pretty well. They're pretty well done for the most part. And that's basically what I got to say. Either you have better security and check people coming in and out, and not just in the morning. I'm talking about if they leave at lunch or if they leave school. If there's somebody different coming in, I mean, check them before they come in, and run that metal detector over them and make sure there's nothing there. That's the only way you're going to do it. A lot of people say, well, that's just a lot of extra work and expense. Well, you'd rather have the expense or extra work or have to pay more, or would you rather have more dead people? That's up to you. And not me, I'd rather have it safe and secure, and more people have a chance to live. I mean, that's why people send their kids to school, because they think it's secure and safe, but it's getting to where it is. It's not. It's becoming a dangerous place. And what else was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, the big immigration problem. It's been going on for, how long here? I can remember it from the 80s when Reagan was in. Really nothing much done about it then. And they've been talking and yapping, flapping their mouths, and never did anything. And they talk about how immoral and how bad things are for people coming over here and stuff, and yet they won't do nothing about immigration. And they say there ought to be a lot of people on the left say, well, you need to do something about it. Well, what do you expect? What do you want us to do about it? You haven't offered any solutions. You know why you haven't offered any solutions? Because it gets too hard. It's hard on those people. We're not compassionate. You got to care about yourself first, and then other people. If you don't care about yourself, then you'll be overrun by other people. They'll take your jobs, take your way of life. And give you a bad economy because they're not skilled. A lot of them's not skilled. They're lower level, and they become instead of becoming a help, like migrant workers, which there is a need for migrant workers. A lot of people won't do those jobs, but it gets down to it to where a lot of these people come up over here, and they don't come in the right way. There's a system put forth in our government that allows so many people in a year, immigrants, and they're already on a path to citizenship. If they do it the right way, they have to pay, I don't know how much it is they have to pay exactly, but they have to spend, I believe it's 5 years, and they have to pass a civil servant or service test or something like that after 5 years, and if they pass it, then they can be a citizen. But a lot of these people are coming up over here, coming up through the border illegally, and then settle in our country, and they never get citizenship, and then wonder why they get deported. Like one lady had been here like 18 years. She didn't bother about trying to check on citizenship or trying to fill out papers, and then she ended up getting deported. I wonder why. Dory. It's like there's no brain up there. There's nothing working. They just think, well, we just live here free. And yeah, a lot of those people like that too get paid under the table. They don't have to pay taxes and stuff. Yet those people will get all kinds of benefits paid for by our tax money, and they'll get welfare, food stamps, and other money to survive on. And then they kind of look forward to it, and then they get hooked into our system, and we take care of them instead of them working, and that they look forward to our checks and checks coming from our government that we the taxpayers pay for, and they become dependent on it, and that's not right. Even our own people shouldn't be dependent on it unless it's legal. I mean, if there's jobs and opportunities, you should be out there working and paying taxes, not just banking on entitlements you think you're entitled to when you're not. If you're not, and there's another thing. If you're not legal, you're not entitled to it anyway. So why do you expect to come up here and get it? You're not entitled to it because you're not a citizen. And that's the sticking point. A lot of the people on the left don't understand. They want to argue, well, these people are human. They have rights. Yeah, they have rights, but they don't have rights in the United States because they're not a citizen of the United States. So they're illegal. If they want rights, go back to their own country where they were at, and they can have rights in their country. Of course, I know it's bad down there, but do like what we did. Elect officials that'll stand up for you and help you instead of bumming off us. I mean, anyway, those people coming up here, and I went into this so many times, I don't like talking too much about it. Once those people get up here uneducated, unskilled, can't make a living, they become dependents of the government, and they more or less, and they don't never get legalized. They don't become citizens, and they turn certain areas into slums and poverty-stricken areas. Like California is becoming that way more and more. And that's why the tax rates are so high, and I've went into this before too, and I don't like going all into this, but I'll rehash it. Their taxes get so high that they can't afford to live there. They're paying, and the reason they want it that way is because the upper class, the people with all the control, the government officials, well, not so much corporations, but the big government officials, they want to control more people, so they allow this to happen. They come in there, and that way they've got people that look up to them, and they're making money off these little people, and these little people stay poor because they can't afford anything any better, and they can't afford to live any better, so they expect the government to help them. And all the big wigs, they make money off from them, and they're in control, they're in power, they really think there's something. And the poor people never will get any better, they'll just get worse, and the big people get bigger and bigger and bigger till it blows up, and they don't have enough money coming in from the poor people. So they'll basically take them over and turn it into communism, socialism, or Marxism, one of them ism things. And anyway, I'm getting kind of off what I was talking about. And they're really protesting now because a lot of the children are getting separated from their parents, but hell, they're not legal. A lot of them, too, are not even the parents of the kids. They have fake documents and stuff, trying to lie and say the kids belong to them. And why would anybody want to bring their kids up to the desert or other areas? Because, I mean, it's almost like child endangerment. Here, if we did something like that, we'd be sued for child endangerment, maybe even put into prison or charged with something. How come these people aren't charged with stuff they're doing that? They're endangering kids' lives. I don't understand that either. I mean, yeah, it's a risk, and I hate to do it, but you have to turn these people away. Yeah, you can be compassionate and stuff, but you got to turn them away, because we got a lot of people in this country that starve. The Appalachian area, there's a lot of people starving in that area. It's poverty stricken, and nobody talks much about that anymore, but it's still happening. And even Hillary, the messed up in the head Clinton, wanted to shut the miners and stuff off. And that's part of why she didn't get elected, because in Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and the Appalachian area, North Carolina, and that area, Tennessee, and all that area, Virginia, West Virginia, all those areas, a lot of miners and a lot of coal mining, and she wanted to shut that off. And she didn't think it was, I don't know what she thought, if it was humane or what, but that's the way a lot of people there have made their living for decades, over 100 and something or even more years. So anyway, back to what I was talking about. This just can't go on. I mean, we got to think about our people first, and that's part of Trump's policy. Make America Great Again, MAGA. You got to keep the area. You got to keep this country. Got to take care of the needs of the people first. That's why you see the trade issue as well, and getting off immigration again. But we can talk about this a little bit too. Trump went up to Canada and said that basically, I'm just going to paraphrase it, and basically said we imposed certain, not sanctions, what's the word I'm looking for? Heavier taxation on their products. And there's a word for it, but at the moment it's froze out of my head, but it will come to me. Anyway, they should have to, they're making us pay high taxes on a lot of their goods, so we did more or less the same to them, especially steel and aluminum and stuff like that. And China too's been, they steal a lot of our technology, and we've imposed certain higher taxation. There's another word for it, but anyway, taxation on their goods coming into our country, and they turn around and have done the same thing to us. So there's kind of a trade war. Even in Europe, we imposed higher taxation on their products, just like because they do it to us. So if we're going to have to pay higher penalties, they should have to pay them too. And as far as the NATO and that type of thing, the common defense of the certain nations, European countries now have to pay their fair share, because they I believe it's 2% of their gross domestic product or whatever they have to spend on defense and pay NATO. Well, they haven't been doing that. They've been letting it go. And Trump said that he wasn't going to help them. If they weren't going to pay their fair share, then he's not going to help them. And that's fair. That's the way it should be. We're paying for everybody else. We're paying everything for everybody else. And we're going broke. That's why we're so far in debt and stuff. I mean, that's why we're 21, 22, 23, or even more $1 trillion in debt. And we're never going to get out of it if we don't do something. So, Trump is smarting a lot of us up. And we see what's going on. And he's taking care of this. And what else was I going to talk about? Well, let's talk about Little Rocket Man for a minute. We just had that conference here, what was it, May the 12th, so about 2 months ago, not quite 2 months ago. Pretty close, though. Well, I'm, 4 days off, 3 days off, 4 days off. And they actually sat down and talked about denuclearization of North Korea, which would be a great thing if it could happen. And there's nothing being said but good words coming from Trump saying that they will do this. And they even did just destroy some nuclear areas where they were producing that stuff. They did destroy some of those areas, but there have been reports, of course, that could be fake news. You don't know. You don't know what's going on. It might be fake news, and then again, it might not. It might be just the media trying to stir something up again because they don't like Trump and what he's trying to do for America. Because they are what I said they were. They're Marxists and communists and socialists, and they won't admit it, but deep down inside they are. They want to be compassionate. Yeah. Even people on the right are compassionate, but there is an extreme to anything, so you can't be that way. I mean, not to have common sense. You got to take care of yourself first, and then if somebody else wants help and is your ally and is friendly to your country and fair to your country, as far as taxation and other things and common defense, pay your fair share, then we can be partners. If not, then I feel sorry for you. Anyway, Kim Jong-un, if I pronounced that right, one of those funny Korean names, they sat down and talked and shook hands and had a very good meeting according to Trump, and more or less had an agreement of according to Trump for denuclearization. Of course, like I said before, I wouldn't put too much stock into anything that North Korea tells you, although there have been many positive signs. Like Kim Jong-un's son walking across the border to South Korea to shake hands with the South Korean premier or president, whatever they call them over there. You can check that out if you want to know what they are, president, premier, I don't know, whatever they call those kind of people. Anyway, there has been some positive things, and I'll believe it when I see it, but Trump seems to think so in a positive manner. He seems to think something great's going to come out of this, so you got to go with him until it's not right. And so let's see how this turns out. And I wouldn't believe, I'd keep a watchful eye over North Korea, and another reason it could be happening is it's reached a boiling point to where Kim Jong-un realizes that his people are starving to death. Maybe he's smarter than we thought he was. Maybe he wants to help his people a little bit. Or maybe it's affected him too. Who knows? Because he sure don't want his people to have an uprising on him. He wants to stay in power. No matter how evil and dictatorial this guy is, he's not that stupid. Hopefully he's not. And he's trying to make it where we ease the sanctions and other penalties we've instituted on him, so he can maybe live a better lifestyle himself, maybe. Or he could be doing all that so we do that, and then turn around and go ahead and produce stuff too without us knowing it. Keep it hidden, kind of like Iran did, and then we pulled out of our agreement with them that Obama started, which the same guy that sent airplane full of money over there to them too, which they turned around and gave to the extremist groups and terrorists such as Hamas in Palestine, in the Palestinian area, and they took the money and turned it into missiles and other stuff and fired them at Israel. Used our money against Israel, and Trump wasn't going to have nothing to do with that. So, plus they probably killed a lot of our people that work for us too, Iranian supported fighters in Syria and Iraq and other places too. They also used that money for that. Anyway, I think that's about all I'm going to talk about because my mouth's getting dry, and I've been on here for a little bit now, so I won't talk anymore for a while. I may be busy upgrading my system, hopefully, and having a better computer than one that don't freeze up and mess up so much on me. And about the time I get this one paid off, it's old, and I'm gonna have to get another one. So I'm gonna sign off, and this is Fraley's World Insight Blogs for 7/8/18 on Sunday night, or just before night, Sunday late evening, 6:35 to be exact. And I'm gonna sign off, and we'll see